Hi, and welcome back to the Gluten Free RN podcast. I'm Nadine Gross-Kowiak, the Gluten Free RN, and today during episode 22, we're going to talk about the importance of sleep, especially if you have celiac disease. Hi, and welcome back to the Gluten Free RN. I'm Nadine Gross-Kowiak, the Gluten Free RN. Thank you for joining me for episode 22, where we're going to talk about the importance of sleep, whether you have celiac disease or not. Sleep is extremely important, and there is a worldwide epidemic of sleep problems. Thank you to everyone who is joining us from around the world today during this episode where we are talking about sleep. I know that there are people from all over the world that are joining us for this podcast. People from New Zealand and Norway, Australia, the UK, Canada, Turkey, Korea. So welcome. And I hope you enjoy this information that I'm going to give to you today on the Gluten Free RN podcast. I used to work in the emergency department as a nurse doing emergency trauma and critical care. And I worked on the night shift for over 10 years. And I did 12-hour night shifts for the most part. So we would work 3 12-hour night shifts or a 36-hour weekend and then have typically 4 days off. And during those 4 days off, we would try to shift into a regular sleep pattern. That is very difficult for night shift workers to operate during the day. Honestly, I'm not quite sure how I did it. It was very difficult. You're messing with your circadian rhythm, and I know my circadian rhythm was way off. And it got to be where I was so fuzzy-brained, and I couldn't think. And certainly I tried to stay awake after my 12-hour shift to do something during the day. It didn't work out very well. I used to have grandiose ideas that if I worked the night shift, I could get a lot done during the day. Because I would work my 12-hour night shift, I would drive home and pay bills or run errands. That ended up not to be the case. I very much needed my sleep. So as soon as I would get home, I would take a shower, jump into bed, and hopefully sleep until the alarm went off. And I very much needed that sleep. I probably needed an extra 3 or 4 hours of sleep a day. But keeping in mind that there were all types of distractions, it took me a few years to get blackout curtains in my room. That was ingenious by the time I decided that I needed those blackout curtains. They helped enormously for keeping any part of the daylight out and making the room as black as possible. Sleeping during the day is difficult because everybody else in the world is up. So the neighbors were up mowing the lawn, the kids were playing basketball, the teenagers had their car radios blaring, and people would call during the day. And sometimes I would forget to turn off the phone, and people would call and go, "Hey, do you want to go to lunch today?" But the reality is that I needed as much sleep as possible while I was working the night shift. I have complete and total empathy for all of the night workers in the world. And I'm very thankful at this point in my life that I now get to sleep at night, every night. And I really don't try to take a red-eye flight or any other thing do any other thing that is going to disrupt my sleep. It's extremely important to me at this point in my life. And I hope it is in your life also. I know that there's an increased correlation with people that are undiagnosed with celiac disease and having sleep disturbances. There's a number of reasons for that, but a lot of the people that are undiagnosed celiac have a number of symptoms that could potentially keep them awake at night. Those could be symptoms of joint pain or muscle pain. eczema or dermatitis herpetiformis, which is a very distracting, itchy, painful skin rash. Some people have headaches or muscle twitches or restless leg syndrome. Any of those issues or many other health issues could potentially be keeping you awake at night. And if gluten or gluten exposure is causing you to have those symptoms, the simple removal of gluten from your diet or adopting a paleo lifestyle. So a paleo diet or a paleo lifestyle includes removing all grains, including rice and corn, all dairy, removing all legumes, including peanuts and beans, and eating primarily meat and fish, nuts and seeds, fruits and vegetables. So not only did I work the night shift, but I was also an undiagnosed celiac person. So even though I worked 12-hour night shifts, I really had a hard time sleeping, even during the day. Despite all of those other distractions, my body hurt. So I had a hard time getting enough sleep and good quality sleep. I don't have those issues anymore on a paleo diet. The pain's gone, my skin is clear, my brain shuts down so that I can sleep, and sleep is excellent. I highly recommend it. So do whatever you can to get 8 to 10 hours of good quality sleep a night, whether you're a night shift worker or a day shift worker. It's very important that you get 8 to 10 hours of good quality sleep every night. So if you figure that out, you spend about a third of your life in bed. And it's very important that your bed itself is very comfortable. Way back before I got diagnosed with celiac disease, I had back pain and I would have muscle spasms and my joints would hurt. I thought it was my mattress, so I bought a very expensive mattress thinking that mattress was going to deal with all of my aches and pains. Well, guess what? It didn't. All of those aches and pains didn't go away until I adopted a gluten-free diet. And then after a few years, I went on a paleo diet and any remaining issue cleared up. It's important that the bed that you're sleeping in does have a good mattress. Think of Goldilocks. What kind of bed do you like? Do you like a super hard bed or a medium bed or a soft bed? What bed is going to be the best for you? Make sure it's very comfortable with sheets that you like and enough pillows to prop up your head and support your body, to hug if you like to hug a pillow. Make sure you have plenty of pillows and that you're warm enough or cool enough. And I recommend that you have some fresh air in your room as much as possible. So especially during the spring and the summer and the fall, that window in your room is open so that you can get some fresh air. While we're talking about your bed, we should also talk about your bedroom. Do you have any electronic equipment in your bedroom? I highly recommend you get it out. Electronic equipment can be things like phones or TVs or computers that give off some light that may prevent you from sleeping or getting to sleep. TVs do not belong in your bedroom. Please take them out. And I would highly recommend that you limit the amount of screen time before you go to bed. So limit it. Just make sure that, an hour or 2 or 3 before you're getting ready to go to bed, that you turn off the computers, turn off the TV. Think about reading or knitting or doing whatever it is that will help you relax so that your body can slide off into a very comfortable sleep pattern. For some people, that's taking a warm bath. And if you're taking a warm bath at night, think about putting some Epsom salts in with that bath water. Epsom salts actually provide magnesium to your body, and you will absorb it transdermally or through your skin topically. And it's a smooth muscle relaxer. So magnesium will help you fall asleep. Whether you take it internally through a supplement or you get magnesium through your food or you absorb it topically. An Epsom salts bath is an excellent way to do that. Now, if you're taking magnesium, there's one caveat. I do recommend that you take enough to help with the smooth muscle relaxation. However, because it does that, because it is a smooth muscle relaxer, it can give you diarrhea. Just so you know. If you think about milk of magnesia, which is actually was given for constipation or is still given for constipation, MOM, it will cause diarrhea if you take too much magnesium. So just be aware of that. And you can space it out during the day from what you're eating, getting magnesium through your food, supplements, and at bedtime with an Epsom salts bath. Some people can't sleep very well because they have sleep apnea. Now, if that sleep apnea is caused because you're overweight, number one, think about losing some weight. Some people just physiologically have a shorter neck and their anatomy is such that they might have difficulty breathing at night when they're laying down. Sleep apnea very much can be a neurological issue. Please keep in mind that celiac disease is primarily a neurological disorder. So neurological can mean many different things to many different people. So if you have sleep apnea and you're not morbidly obese and you don't have a physiological reason for you to stop breathing while you're sleeping, there's a good chance it could be neurological. The interesting thing about that is when people go on a gluten-free diet and their body heals, their intestines heal, their immune system gets repaired, and that inflammation goes away, very often the neurological symptoms will also either stop getting bad or completely repair. Every cell in our body wants to repair, wants to regenerate, and if we take away the things that are causing the damage and make sure that we have enough nutrients for our body to repair, then even the neurological system will get better. So in order for the neurological system to get better, we have to make sure that we are, number one, healing our intestines, number two, dealing with any inflammation and removing any foods or substances that are causing inflammation, healing our immune system, rebuilding our microbiome, and then dealing with any of the deficiencies that were caused by the intestinal damage to begin with. Very commonly, people are deficient in vitamin D3, magnesium, selenium, and you can get selenium, which is a trace mineral, just by eating 2 to 3 Brazil nuts a day. Omega-3 fatty acids, B12, and any of the other Bs in the complex, and vitamin C. It's very important that we all make sure that we have enough vitamin C. Vitamin C deficiencies can cause scurvy. And scurvy used to be a very prominent, very common deficiency to have. And I think it's very common again. So do make sure that you're getting enough vitamin C. And one orange is not going to do it. Make sure that you're actually supplementing with enough vitamin C, both from your diet, and you may have to take some ascorbic acid or some vitamin C with your food to make sure that you have enough. Children very commonly have sleep issues. Either they don't want to go to bed, or they can't fall asleep, or they go to bed and they cry, and then they're cranky when they get up in the morning. They might be fatigued and have dark circles under their eyes, and they have decreased productivity or learning disabilities or difficulty focusing on schoolwork or chores. A lot of these kids are probably mis or undiagnosed with other things, but they're potentially celiac patients, especially if they have short stature or anemia or falling off the growth chart, learning disabilities, seizure disorders. There's many signs or symptoms that children may be affected negatively by the consumption of gluten. And when kids can't sleep after they've been up and at 'em all day working or playing, working at school or playing in the play yard, then there's something going on. What's keeping these children awake and unable to sleep. And the same goes for adults too. If adults don't get enough sleep, we get cranky and irritable and miserable. So we have to make sure that the underlying issue is being addressed. Anybody with sleep difficulties should be tested for celiac disease proper and have the opportunity and the option of going on a gluten-free diet to see if it actually helps their ability to sleep better. When I worked the night shift, I of course was tired, and I didn't know I had celiac disease at the time. So despite sleeping, I would wake up and I would be very fatigued or tired. Of course, I'm Polish, so I would have, no matter what, I would go to work and be very effective, but we did get tired working the night shift, and we thought it was normal. And truth be told, it probably was normal for us to be exhausted working 12-hour night shifts on a job that was very difficult even on a good day. But once I found out I had celiac disease when I was 40, I went on a gluten-free diet and my sleep improved enormously. I no longer had back pain, my joints didn't hurt anymore, my skin didn't itch and crawl at night, my muscle pain went away. That back pain I mentioned earlier was no longer an issue, and it hasn't been since. I no longer have muscle spasms. I don't have leg cramps. Everything is pretty much resolved, which is a good thing, so that I can become what is now known as an Olympic sleeper. I am a gold medal Olympic sleeper. So for anybody that's spent any time with me, they know that I know when it's 9 o'clock. My internal clock says, okay, we're going to yawn. It's time for bed. And I go to bed at 9 o'clock. And then I sleep for 8 to 10 hours a night, usually getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning or 6. And then I'm ready to go for the day. I leap out of bed, I jump in the shower, go for a run or whatever I'm going to do, and I'm ready to go. That's a lot different from before I was diagnosed with celiac disease, when I would literally roll out of bed and crawl to the shower, try to get going in the morning, which I think is a lot of people. That's why a lot of people have to have their coffee in the morning, their sugar. They need those chemicals to get them going, those stimulants. And then usually, throughout the day, people get tired again. And so they resort to things like energy drinks, which are pure sugar and caffeine. I highly recommend people avoid those like the plague. If that's your bad habit, please break it. And then at night, when they're all amped up and it's time to go to bed and they're panicked because they're wide awake, then people resort to things like alcohol, depressants, things that are going to help them go to sleep. Or they look for those prescription medications that will help them sleep. Those prescription medications have a lot of side effects, and as we're finding over time, are not very good for people, and they can cause problems, especially with things like Ambien. Nobody wants to be caught sleep driving or walking around the neighborhood in the middle of the night because they're having a side effect from the medication. Melatonin is a good, easy way to try a sleep aid. I highly recommend that you think about taking only 1.5 to 3 milligrams of melatonin. Melatonin is a naturally occurring neurotransmitter, along with dopamine and serotonin, all of which are made in your intestines. If your intestines are damaged, your ability to make any of your neurotransmitters is depleted. So if you're taking melatonin, consider taking 3 milligrams. Anything above that, usually like 6 milligrams, will cause people to have intense dreams or nightmares. So just be aware that you can take it, but don't take too much, just like anything else. Think about sleep hygiene as far as what your routine is as you're getting ready to go to bed. After you have dinner, what do? Do you read a book? I like to knit or read a book. Sometimes we'll watch a show on Netflix in order to just settle down and relax in the evening. So very rarely do I go out and run or do anything that is going to amp me up in the evening. I'm usually running around all day. So in order for me to slow down in the evening, I have a little bit of a routine. What's your routine? What do you do to settle down in the evening? Again, I mentioned taking out all of the TVs and computers and your cell phones from your room, because any light, any ambient light is going to prevent you from going to sleep and potentially going to wake you up at night. So if you have a cell phone by your bed that lights up every time somebody texts you, or you get a like on Instagram, or your mother's calling, think about taking those phones and whatnot out of your room, or at least where they're not going to interfere with your sleep. We have one window with a curtain on it that is blocking out the light from the street, but the other window does not have a curtain on it. So that when the sun comes up, or when the light starts to change in the sky, that's actually indicating to our brain that it's time to start to wake up. Another good way to potentially get ready for sleep is white noise. Some people like a fan or a little bit of music. Some people read for a little while. Anything you can do to tell your brain that it's time to settle down and go to sleep, because sleep is extremely important for our body. It's important that our body gets enough sleep, 8 to 10 hours a night, because that's when our body heals. That's when our cells regenerate. That's when our digestion occurs. So all that food that you ate during the day, and hopefully it's good food and gluten-free at least, if not paleo, that's when our body is supposed to regenerate and heal and digest the food that we ate. So if you're taking vitamins or multivitamins, I highly recommend that people take them in the morning with their food, and certainly with fat, and then again in the evening or at night before you go to bed, because those vitamins that you take at night are going to get absorbed differently, and they're going to be available as your body heals. So take your vitamins or your multivitamins in the morning and at night, especially for newly diagnosed celiac patients, for the first month or two. After that, you may not need to take them in the morning and at night, maybe just once a day. But in the very beginning, when your body is starving, it's extremely important to have those vitamins and minerals available to your body so that it can heal. I'm sure we've all seen people at work or at school, anywhere where we are out in the world, that look miserable. They're drinking big, huge cups of coffee during the day or soda with caffeine, and they might be overweight, but they're still fatigued, and they're having a hard time functioning or being productive during the day. And then at night, they probably go home and have some beer or alcohol or something to settle themselves down. They do have a difficult time sleeping. I can guarantee it. Everything that we consume actually impacts our sleep and our health. So it's very important that we all are aware of what we're consuming, what we're eating, and what we're drinking. And then the pharmaceuticals that you are potentially prescribed can impact your health. They have side effects. They have interactions with other medications you're taking. It's very important to work with a pharmacist so that you can optimize your health and decrease the impact of the pharmaceuticals, either side effects or the interactions. I never think it's a good idea, and this is as a nurse, that people are taking multiples of medications. Anytime you're taking anything over 3 medications, there are interactions between every medication you're taking. So make sure that the pharmacist is reviewing the medications you're on. As an emergency room nurse, I used to see people in the ER with lists of medications that were 20 to 30 medications long. I'm like, this is a full-time job. I don't even know how people have the time to do anything else besides take these medications or eat. It's crazy. So hopefully people are looking at the impact of those medications on their health in general, and then also on their ability to sleep. Sleep is an extremely important task. Every human being has to sleep, as far as I know. There might be a few that don't, or the few human beings that only need 4 or 6 or 5 hours of sleep a night. That's not me. I need a good 8 to 10 hours of sleep a night for my body to have enough energy to carry on the tasks of daily living and working and playing. How much sleep do you need? What are you doing to make sure that you're getting the hours of sleep that you need? What can you do better? Have you been tested for celiac disease? Because we know that people with celiac disease have a harder time sleeping. These are all important questions, and I'm sure there's more. There's many more questions to ask about how to sleep better, what's a good routine for you to fall asleep at night. Are you getting a good night's sleep, or are you waking up every hour or 2 hours? What can you do to prevent yourself from waking up every hour or 2? Perhaps it's as simple as a nutrient deficiency and correcting that nutrient deficiency. Is it magnesium? Is it vitamin D3? Is it B12? Are you absorbing your omega-3 fatty acids appropriately? So sometimes it's as simple as correcting a deficiency or taking a warm Epsom salts bath with lavender. Check out your bed, look at your surroundings, identify things that are preventing you from getting a good night's sleep and correct them. Thank you very much for joining me for episode 22 of the Gluten Free RN podcast, focused on sleep and the importance of sleep, especially for people with non-celiac gluten sensitivity or celiac disease. This is Nadine Gross-Kowiak, the Gluten Free RN, no longer working the night shift and having achieved a gold medal Olympic sleeper status, and very proud of that. I highly recommend you strive to get 8 to 10 hours of sleep a night and sleep like an Olympian. Until next time, eat good food, avoid gluten like the plague, and strive to get 8 to 10 hours of sleep a night. Thanks for joining me, Nadine Gross-Kowiak. Until next time, signing off.